Good morning, friends. Nice to see you. Nice to gather in the pre-dawn, special time of day where life invites our intimacy with it. I know it's not morning for all of you, those in New Zealand and Pacific Northwest, in the Americas, and etc. Those enjoying a hot summer evening. I think it was Kaz who mentioned, but most of us are in the dark and the cold. So, yeah, welcome. I was chanting the Guru Stotram before we began because it's the anniversary today of the death of my teacher, and my Indian teacher who I lived with for 2 or 3 years altogether in the Himalayas, and with whom I have kind of enormous love and gratitude, general affection and respect, and so just remembering him is always very moving for me, very evocative, just evocative of those qualities, evocative of great gratitude and sort of wonder, really, wonder at my good fortune, wonder at that time I spent with him, which was so fundamental and important for me. It was also a time that was incredibly confusing, and it was a time in my life where I was full of doubt, insecurity, existential confusion, and at the same time it was a time of great deepening and sort of exploring and getting to know a life, an inner life particularly, as well as an outer life, which was sort of beyond anything I had ever or could have ever imagined. And I think the times in our life where the engine of practice is really roaring along, it's often like that. On the one hand, there's this great sense of blessing and discovery and deepening and things opening up. And we're in love with the possibilities of practice and with the good fortune to have sort of practice tools, etc. And at the same time, it's a time where things are kind of dissolving and destabilizing. And the way we thought we knew ourselves is crumbling and metamorphosizing. And that can, it's an interesting juxtaposition to be both really feeling, wow, I'm blessed, I'm on the right track, beautiful things are happening, and simultaneously, oh God, what's happening to me? I don't recognize myself. I'm losing all my familiar reference points. I feel like I'm losing my mind in some way, or losing what's familiar. So anyway, just that chant particularly is a chant which kind of is about honoring one's teacher and kind of remembering and celebrating the virtues of one's teacher in a kind of almost hagiographic way. Each word of the guru is a mantra. Just to see the guru's feet is to enter into meditation, etc. So it has that hagiographic element of the Indian tradition, where we kind of that sense of becoming intoxicated almost by the recognition of one's good fortune. Anyway, so I just like to mention that today as a way of honoring my teacher and that whole time with him. And actually, a few years ago on Sangha Live, I think during a series of mornings like this, I think I took the week, it was the week, the equivalent of this week, the week of his death. And I took that week to talk about his life, the rather extraordinary and eccentric and unusual life that he'd led, and the way that overlapped with my life and my time with him. And if anyone's interested in that, you can watch it on my, it's on this page of my website. I'll put it in the link, in the martinaylward.com/media. And I think it's not the very first top video that comes up. That's a page just full of video teachings. But in the ones below, there's a still of me sitting in my kind of little cave shrine thing that I often teach Sangha live from. And if you click on that, it says the life of my teacher. Yeah. And if you can't find it there, you can also, I think, watch it directly on Vimeo. Hold on. So there's the link on my website. And then I think that's the direct Vimeo link to it as well. All right. The theme of the week is in the midst of it all. In the midst of it all. You know, of course, that's where we always are. Where are you in the midst of it all? Always, you know. And I guess then the question becomes, in any moment, are we lost in the midst of it all? Pulled around by the vortex of what's happening inwardly and outwardly, emotionally and cognitively, habitually and karmically? Or are we awake in the midst of it all? Are we present in the midst of it all? Are we skillful in the midst of it all? Are we curious in the midst of it all? Are we really available to the fact that we're in the midst of it all? So yesterday we talked about just presence, you know, present in the midst of it all. And the way that to be present in the midst of it all has this sort of paradoxical quality, where we recognize that presence, awareness, is both inside experience, awareness in the breath, awareness in the sensation, awareness in the hearing, awareness inside of each moment's experience, while also simultaneously awareness is the space around all experience, the space in which breathing happens, in which hearing happens, in which everything happens. Right? Everything happens in awareness. That's our location. That's where we always are. So, and then today I thought to just look at a different nuance, and that's the way in which we're always to be in the midst of it all. Like, you might just think for a moment now, what are you in the midst of right now? There's always the sensory immediacy, right? Meditation often gives a kind of primacy to that. Just in the breathing, in the hearing, in the sensations. So that's one dimension of what we're always in the midst of, right? No, Buddha calls that what's that? Kayanupassana. Kayanupassana is just tracking the sensory immediacy. Right? But then also another dimension is Chittanupassana, tracking the chitta sphere, tracking the kind of what's going on in heart, mind. So, you know, often, so for me right now, I just sense the atmosphere of my experience. There's the sensory immediacy, but it's also colored by knowing that today is the death anniversary of my teacher. It's sort of colored by a sense of love and poignancy, and just like kind of little bits of imagery of him and of the ashram where we lived, etc., etc. So what are you in the midst of? It may be that, you know, something happened yesterday, something wonderful or something painful, and you can still feel the residue of that. It may be that you've got something going on today that you know might be particularly challenging, or that you're really looking forward to. And you're in the midst of that. One of the most primary things that we're often, usually in the midst of, is some aspect of our experience being imperfect, let's say. It's like, if you think about it, more often than not, I mean, very often, something feels off. There's some aspect of our health, or I'm tireder than I would like to be, or I've got some ache, or pain, some injury, some health concern, right? Or, oh, there's something bothersome in the situation around me. There's some noise from the neighbors. There's something that is not as I think it should be or could be. So I wonder if that's the case for you, or like right now as we sit here. It's very often the case. And what we're in the midst of feels suboptimal. Oh, I'm here, oh, but I've got this pain in my kidneys. I'm here, but oh, I didn't sleep very well. I'm here, but I'm agitated because of that thing that happened yesterday. I'm here, but it's too cold in this room. I'm here, but etc., etc., etc. And if we sense into that, but I'm here, but there's this thing that I'm in the midst of that I don't want or I don't like, this thing that shouldn't be like this. What we very easily find is this, like there's some unconscious or half-conscious kind of fussing with that, imagining, oh no, it shouldn't be like that. And then we want someone to blame for it. We blame ourselves, oh, I shouldn't have done that. We want to blame somebody else, or we blame circumstance. We just feel somehow resentful or agitated about just the fact that it's like this. And what does your agitation or blame do to the situation? Does your blame or agitation or resentment help the fact that it's like this? So of course, when we recognize that, we realize that a certain quality of graciousness is the way to be in the midst of it all. To be gracious with that which we don't like, to be forgiving of that which seems imperfect. In the midst of it all, it's like this. Of course it's like this. It's always like this. It can only be like this. And yet how easily we meet it's like this with push and pull, with fussing and fighting, with complaint and doubt and agitation and resistance and blame. So this morning as we sit together, and just orientate to whatever's going on in the chitta sphere, right? Whatever's going on, whatever's sort of swirling around in the atmosphere of your experience. And this willingness and this capacity to be gracious with it. Just for these few moments of sitting together, to allow the world to be the way it is. To allow body to be the way it is. To allow heart and mind to be the way it is. It's like this, friends, that we sit together. So please take your seat for meditation. Set up your posture. Feel into the stability, the heaviness of where body meets the ground or the chair or the floor. And the way that steadiness or heaviness invites a sense of here. Here in an embodied experience. Here in the midst of it all. Letting your posture also be dignified, upright. And feeling of uprightness and awakeness in the midst of all this swirling experience. Upright like a tree in the changing weather patterns. Letting your posture be open. Just roll your shoulders back a little. Feel that space that comes into your chest. And quality of receptivity. Just open to whatever's here. Available to the touch of life. Willing to let things pass through, pass by, pass on. As if our presence can be a transparent one, a receptive, open one. And then also relaxing into your posture. Resting into legs, and hips and belly. Muscles in your face resting and relaxing, shoulders softening. Breath, breathing naturally, effortlessly. Entering into meditation. Entering into presence. Here in the midst of everything. Here in the breath, here in the kaya sphere, sensory immediacy, sounds and sensations. And here in the chitta sphere, whatever impressions, feelings, emotional nuances, whatever mind state is part of your experience right now. And here with the intention to be gracious and spacious, with the understanding that we don't want to fight with our experience. The understanding that it's possible to love being here, to love whatever's present, whether we like it or not. To be here as the heart of awareness. To be here graciously in the midst of it all. the more we have a sense of being present in the midst of it all, a willingness to be gracious, allowing in the midst of it all, the more we welcome what arises. Like, I don't know if you can hear, but the garbage truck is just outside my window, making a noise, collecting the trash. That graciousness, that welcome, sees everything as sacred, worthy of care and attention. There's no such thing as a distraction. Just the emerging, momentary appearances of experience, and the opportunity, the invitation to attend to it all skillfully, graciously, inclusively. Attention might keep getting pulled into it all, seduced by the story, the drama, the wishes and preferences. And practice keeps reminding us of this possibility to just abide in the midst of it all. To become the dance of it all. To care for the fleeting nature of it all. Just like this. Last few minutes of the sitting. Seeing if it's possible these last minutes to give up concern with technique of meditation, and just to have that sense of a kind of open field of experience. Everything coming and going. breath and sounds and sensations, thoughts and feelings. And some sense of just present in it all, with it all, as it all. And seeing if it's possible to cultivate just some quality of non-resistance, of being uncontentious with reality. With the naturalness of loving this moment, however it is. Just like this. May we be awake in the midst of it all, like the eye of the storm, like a lighthouse in the dark. May we be the luminosity with which consciousness illuminates experience. And may we be gracious, loving of what arises and passes, whether we like it or not. All right. Oh, nice to sit with you. So there's a little time for questions. And before that, just the daily reminder of the way all this operates with the engine of goodwill, support, kindness, generosity, blessing. So that, we're all here because of the kindness and generosity of many people. All the teachers that support things happening here, all the team who write the code, build the website, communicate with the teachers, put together the calendar, manage the accounting, make the graphics, or all of that. And also all the support, kindness, blessing of you all who offer dana so that the bills get paid, so that all of this can carry on. So it's just a reminder, it's a reminder of the mutuality of all of this. All of us coming together to support each other, basically. So we try to support you the best we can. And we ask you, hey, please support us the best you can. So if you're able to offer dana, or you want to offer dana today, any other day, feel moved to offer dana. The way that offers me support, the way it offers Sangha Live support, the way it offers the support to everyone else who can then come and find these teachings and practices available, then thank you. And there's a link in the email about this session, and otherwise you can just visit sangha.live/donate, and that's where you can offer dana. And I just see your question, Steph. So no, there isn't a button, but that's the link, sangha.live/donate, or that link is in the email. All right, thank you. I did see a couple of questions. Where's one gone? Oh, and just a reminder, if you do write the question, it's really helpful for me if you write question in capitals at the beginning, so that I can just separate the questions out from the general comments. Céline, quand tout est tellement agité en soi, when everything is feeling agitated, apart from body and breath, do you have any other anchorings to suggest? Space, Celine, can be a helpful anchoring, right? Just breath. Sometimes you come into the breath. Breath is a wonderful focus for attention, but if you're very agitated or anxious, it's all happening here, right? So sometimes that can feel too much. And in that case, just soften, take your attention away from the area that feels too charged. So you're still here, present, available, but in a way that feels manageable. And so that might be coming out, just to feel the edges of your body, like feel the outsides of your arms and your legs. Oh, that's more manageable. And that can have just a helpful kind of stabilizing effect. You can also focus on relaxation, softening. Let me soften my face, soften my jaw, soften my shoulders. Oh, softening, softening. And you can use the out breath for that softening. Oh. Oh. Right, but if breath isn't if breath's feeling too contracted and bound up with the agitation, then that might not be so helpful. But try those two things, softening and space, the space around the breath, the space around the agitation. And it may feel like you just come out to the edges of your arms and legs, like I say, or it may feel you come out further. It's like, oh yeah, I need to sit in a space that's this wide. And that's fine if that's the case. Yeah, space. All right. Elizabeth says, it's not a question. Being in Paris gave a different taste to your teaching, and un goût parisien peut-être. Yes, I'm in Paris for a few days, and it's very nice to be here. So I'm in the Marais. Maybe I'll bump into one or two of you while I'm here. And then Elizabeth says, I don't know how to love what I don't like, right? E.g., worrying symptoms in one I love. You know, when we hear love, we tend to equate loving with liking. So we say, how do I love what I don't like? But what do we mean by love? Usually we say, I love chocolate. I mean, I like it very much. I love this place. I love that thing. I love doing this. Even when we say, I love you, we often, if we check, what we often mean is, in this moment, I feel loving towards you because you're doing something or being some way that I like. But actually, the practice of love is the willingness to love is a kind of, we're extending our heart, right? We're expressing care, sensitivity. Right? To be present, to be loving, you might say, is firstly to show up. I'm here. That's very loving. Here, I'm available once and more, and I want to care for what's happening with you. That's love. And so the same for experience, right? How do you love what you don't like? So the willingness just to be here with it rather than pushing it away. And then to recognize, I don't like this. Right? Worrying symptoms in someone that you love. Somebody's behavior or their thinking patterns or their emotional state is worrying. Like showing up, I'm here. Oh, I recognize you're having a really hard time. Do you want to talk? Is there anything I can do? How can I support you? Depending, I don't know what the worrying symptoms might be, right? If they're self-destructive and the person isn't willing to talk, then, that loving action might actually be taking some stronger steps to help the person protect themselves, etc. But that sense, how do we love what we don't like? by showing up to it, firstly, by being willing to tolerate the discomfort and find out more, and with a quality of kind of tenderness. In other words, contact, showing up, being present, curiosity, willingness to know more, being tender with it all. That's the answer to most Dharma questions. Contact, curiosity, and care. The three royal facets of awareness practice. All right. Thank you, Anthea, for making a button and posting the Dharna link. Yeah. Ruth says, how do you feel about teaching in a language you speak well, but is not your mother tongue? I'm feeling blocked about teaching in French, though I speak it well. The nuances of mindfulness are so immense. I feel lost and without vocabulary, as all my training has been in English. Just make up the words, Ruth. That's what I do, Yeah, just make up the words. It's different. That's what I'll say. It's different because you don't have access to this sort of ready-made vocabulary that you've studied in English. So that can be frustrating. It is more difficult in that dimension, right? It's difficult to not have access to the same vocabulary. But what's interesting, and the other side, is when you can't rely on the familiar jargon, we say awareness, without sometimes knowing exactly what do I mean. So when you don't have access to the familiar jargon, you have to just feel into what you mean and find the words that express it. Ordinary words. So if you speak French well, that's all you need to know. And then you can't rely on the usual jargon. So you just have to be very phenomenological in what you're saying and how you're describing it. And then I would say, other than that, read some Dharma books in French, and that will help with the vocabulary. So, you could any of them, plenty of them, you get a general sense of vocabulary. You could look at my book, Natakitapa, especially if you've read it in English as Awake Where You Are, right? So that's an example, right? Those Awake Where You Are is the English title. Natakitapa, which literally means don't leave yourself, is the French title. So that's not an exact translation at all. It's one title. The French title is designed to point to something in French, which is quite different, and it also accesses, of course, a French cultural reference of the famous song by Jacques Brel, "Don't Leave Me," "Ne me quitte pas." So in a way, it's like, don't try to translate from English into French. Just start with where you are. I want to talk about awareness. I want to talk about being present. I want to talk about the way experience is. Right, and start from there and find the words that come. That would be my suggestion. Araxi, hello Araxi. How do I come on screen to ask my question? Gosh, I can't remember. There is a way to raise your hand. Oh yeah, there's a little hand. Is there a little hand? There's a little hand symbol at the bottom of the screen. So you should be able to just press that, and then something will flash up telling me that you want to come on screen, and then I can bring you on screen. There you go. Just raise your hand. So I've seen you raise your hand, but I don't see. Oh, I think I have to go. It's not as easy as it was on the other system. All right. I've invited you, Araxi. It's a little clunky, I have to say. It's a little clunky. Oh, there we are. Hi, Araxi. You need to activate your camera, and your microphone is muted and your camera is unactivated. Oh, there we go. I should be able to hear you at least now.
Oh, okay. That's probably enough.
All right. Hi there. Go
I
ahead.
don't really want you to see me. I haven't washed my face or anything. Oh, there I am. Oh,
There we go.
okay. Careful what you wish for. Yeah, no, you said something. Hello, Martin. How are you? I'm
Hi,
reading your
nice
book.
to see
I'm reading
you.
your book, so you're in my head all the time now because it's the talky one, which is great. Okay, right. So I've written some notes down to ask this question, not very many, but you talked early on and really said something that struck me. You said, you know, there are these great benefits to the spiritual journey. There's the joy and the and the wonderfulness. And I've been doing tons, I've been running around the world seeing Eckhart Tolle and this, that, and the other. And then you also talked about the downside is that there's a sense of losing all your coordinates and feeling like you're losing your mind, which I do feel that. And I feel
Mm.
like I can't sleep is the main thing.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering if that's a common symptom. Am I on the right track? And I just have to somehow trust that not sleeping is okay or.
Mm. So I don't think I referred to that second class of things as a downside. You know, they can certainly feel like that, but it's par for the course. Now I look back on that time I was talking about, and I see that all that confusion and doubt and was a great blessing. You know, it's just part of it. It was part of it, entering into something wider and deeper and freer, and some kind of resistance against the losing touch with that which had been actually fearful and narrow and contracted, etc. So, yes, I think awakeness, this is a practice of awakeness, and that there's different types of not sleeping. Are you agitated and and kind of bothered? Is it really like deleterious to your life and your energy
Yeah,
levels and your
yeah.
status? Right.
Yes, I'm a therapist now, and I'm in front of clients. It's very perverse. I sleep in the theater when I've paid lots of money to stay awake and watch something, and I
Yeah.
feel like I might just go off with clients, and it's a horrible feeling. Because I
Mm,
think that's the
mm.
last thing that a client would ever want.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So,
sure.
yeah,
So there's a lot. I'm not any kind of sleep expert. I used to sleep very, very well, and then since I had COVID 3 years ago, my sleep went really off, and it's better now, but it's not. My own sleep isn't great since I had
mm,
COVID.
mm,
So I've got not much to say
yeah.
about
I mean, I
that.
could be menopausal. I mean, I am menopausal. I
Right.
remain menopausal. I still have hot flushes. I had them when I trained with you, which is 10, 12, 15 years
Yeah.
ago. So I'm one of those not so lucky ones around that.
So it could be that I've got, of course, even less to say about the menopause than I have about about sleep. But all the usual things. It does seem to me about there's something about um, going to bed early. I know
Mm,
that's the most ordinary thing, but
no, yeah.
somehow there can be a waiting till one gets tired, etc., etc. There's something about going to bed early,
Mm,
and the other most significant thing I think about sleep is when you're not sleeping, not worrying about not sleeping.
mm,
You get as tired from being concerned, oh, what am I going to be like tomorrow? And I'll no, if I don't sleep, and if I don't get enough sleep, I'm going to feel bad. That becomes the most difficult part of the loop sometimes. So
yeah.
it's like, I'm not sleeping. Okay, so what should I do? Maybe I'll get up and sit,
Mm,
or maybe I'll get up and read something, drink a cup of tea, sort of shift channels a little bit,
mm,
and
mhm.
then go back to sleep. And somehow that often seems better than just lying there thinking about not sleeping, etc.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And then there's a bunch of audio resources, right? Listening to things somehow often is soothing for people. Listening
yeah.
to talks can be supremely soporific.
I've been trying to listen to you to get me to go to sleep, but you're too interesting, and
Oh, well, there
that's
you go. Oh, yes, much too interesting.
no,
Find
it's true.
someone more.
True, it's really difficult to find the right material that's kind of interesting enough, but not like, oh, not awakening kind of thing. So yeah, but yeah, thank you. Thank
Nice to
you.
see you. Nice to see you. Nice to hear
Hopefully
that things are alive and moving for you, even if they're.
alive. Who knows for how long before I fall off my bike or something. But yeah, okay.
All right.
Bye bye.
Thank you. I have to see how I make you disappear, not altogether. Can you do that? Because I don't know how to take you off now. All right. Well, we'll end together then because we're at the top of the
Okay.
hour.
All
So,
right.
Here's wishing, here's wishing you all well, friends. May you make room for it all as you go through the day, and I'll see you all tomorrow. There's various comments, by the way, Araxa. You might have a look there. Various people have all kinds of thoughts about sleep, menopause, and pranayama, and other things. So
cool. Yeah, I'll try and find them. Thank you. Okay.
All right.